Arieh Lightstone, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So Israeli forces just launched the biggest military offensive since 2002 in the city of Jenin in the West Bank. They're saying this isn't going after Palestinians. This is a counterterrorism effort. Give us a sense of what is actually unfolding there.
So it's very clear this is not going after Palestinians. It is trying to unroot a terror haven that's been there now for not months or years, but almost a decade of rapidly producing active actions of terror coming from Jenin. And if you've seen the news, as you report the news, coming out of the West Bank, Samaria area in the last 18 months, there have been tens of terror attacks perpetrated from that area. And since the Palestinian Authority is supposed to be exerting security control there, and they've chosen not to or are unable to, Israel is unfortunately forced to go into Jenin with great risk to the young men and women who are going in there in order to unroot this terror that has taken place there.
And expanding on that, what is the significance of Jenin? Why target this area?
But Jenin is a very important city in the West Bank, in the Samaria area, heavily populated, has the opportunity to sort of be a Manhattan of the West Bank in terms of commerce, in terms of the age demographic, in terms of sort of the excitement of the area. It is a place that could and really should be flourishing economically and via other opportunities. Instead, it's turned to a place of mass unemployment, mass discontent. And when there's mass unemployment, mass discontent, then they have turned, unfortunately, in a great way to fear and terror. And I hate to bring this part up, but if your viewers have watched the Netflix Sade and have seen sort of the street-to-street fighting that is taking place or is portrayed in that film, that's pretty accurate. This is hand-to-hand, street-to-street, house-to-house, and alley-to-alley combat by the IDF soldiers where they're taking great risk to avoid damaging civilians, trying to root out the very source of the terror.
And on that note, is there any ideas of where the sources of terror are coming from? Is it Iran? What are the forces here?
So thank you for asking that, because that's what makes this different and slightly unique. In the past, the players were really extreme Islamic Jihad, which took a form of Hamas. And normally the Palestinian Authority, which is supposed to be the moderate factor in the West Bank, was able, together with Israel, to keep Hamas down to a limit. This is not Hamas. This is Iranian terror cells that have grown up in Jenin, are acting with impunity to the degree that they even have shoulder-fired missiles that could be launched from Jenin. This is completely and totally untenable for the state of Israel to be able to have, because this puts every civilian in all of Israel within reach of these terror activities. And this is classic Iran expanding their circle of malfeasance around the region.
And Arieh, do you expect the violence to escalate? Where do you see this going from here?
Well, here's the big challenge. You have Mahmoud Abbas, who's the president, I think, in his 18th year of a 4-year term of the Palestinian Authority, who people are counting down the days until he disappears. There is no real authority there. And when you've got a vacuum like we've discussed so many times beforehand, it's not like the best people rise up to fill that vacuum. Right now, you're seeing the very worst, and the Iranians are taking advantage of this. Israel does not want to be in Jenin. Israel does not want to be taking this action. They would love that the Palestinian Authority would go ahead and educate the young men and women there to be able to have a lifestyle of success and prosperity. But unfortunately, it's gone exactly the opposite way. It is an area devoid of leadership, and Israel will be there, I think, to make sure that their citizens remain safe for the long run.
Arieh Lightstone, thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.